Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring at the display screen with growing worry. Red dots filled the screen, each one marking an enemy ship. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. She had never seen anything like it in her 20 years of military service. "Admiral, we're getting readings from the edge of the solar system," Lieutenant Park said from his station. His voice shook slightly. "The energy signatures are massive, much larger than anything in our database." Sarah walked over to look at his screen. The numbers made no sense. Whatever was coming toward Earth was using technology far beyond human understanding. She had commanded Earth's defense fleet for 5 years, but this was different. This was not a human enemy. "How long until they reach the outer colonies?" she asked. "At their current speed, maybe 6 hours," Park replied. "Admiral, what are those things?" Sarah did not answer because she did not know. 3 days ago, the deep space monitoring stations had picked up strange signals from outside the solar system. The signals stopped suddenly, and then nothing. Now this. Ships appearing from nowhere heading straight for Earth. "Send a message to all fleet commanders," Sarah ordered. "Full alert status. All ships to battle positions. Contact Earth Command and tell them we have a situation." The communications officer nodded and began sending the orders. Within minutes, Earth's defense fleet was moving. 67 ships of various sizes spread out across the solar system. It seemed like a lot, but Sarah knew it was not enough. Not for what was coming. The first contact came sooner than expected. The alien ships moved faster than human sensors could track properly. They appeared near Pluto's orbit in a flash of blue light. The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They looked like they were made of black glass, smooth and curved. Each ship was at least 3 times larger than the biggest human warship. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "It's on all frequencies." "Put it through," Sarah said. A voice filled the bridge. It was cold and mechanical, speaking perfect English. "Humans of the 3rd planet, you are now part of the Dominion Empire. Surrender your weapons and prepare for integration. Resistance will result in complete destruction." Sarah looked around at her crew. Young faces stared back at her, waiting for orders. She had trained for this moment, but she never thought it would actually happen. First contact with aliens, and they wanted to conquer Earth. "Open a channel," she told the communications officer. "Channel open, Admiral." Sarah cleared her throat. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. We reject your demands. Earth is not for sale, and we will not surrender. If you want our planet, you'll have to take it." There was silence for a moment. Then the alien voice returned. "So be it. You have chosen destruction." The first battle began near Jupiter. Captain Rodriguez commanded the outer patrol ships, 12 vessels that were supposed to watch for asteroids and other space debris. Now they faced an alien fleet that could destroy them without trying. "Fire all weapons," Rodriguez shouted into his communicator. "Hit them with everything we have." The human ships fired their railguns and missile systems. Bright streaks of light crossed space toward the alien vessels. The weapons struck the enemy ships and simply disappeared. The aliens had some kind of shield that made human weapons useless. The alien response was swift and deadly. Beams of purple energy lanced out from the black ships. Where they touched human vessels, metal melted like ice in a furnace. Rodriguez's ship, the Aurora, took a direct hit to the engine section. The explosion lit up space for miles around. "Aurora is gone," the communications officer reported to Admiral Chen. "We're losing contact with the outer patrol." Sarah watched the tactical display as red dots representing her ships disappeared one by one. In less than an hour, 12 ships and 300 people were gone. The aliens had not lost a single vessel. "Pull back the fleet," she ordered. "Form defensive positions around Earth. We need to warn the colonies." But it was too late for the outer colonies. The mining station on Europa went silent first. Then the research base on Titan. The farming domes on Mars sent one last message. "They're everywhere. They're taking people. Then nothing. The alien fleet, now clearly visible on Earth sensors, moved like a dark cloud through the solar system. More ships kept appearing. as if they were coming from nowhere. Sarah realized that Earth was facing an enemy that could move through space in ways humans did not understand. "How many ships are we tracking now?" she asked Lieutenant Park. "Over 2,000, Admiral, and more keep appearing." Sarah felt a cold weight in her stomach. Earth's entire defense fleet was 67 ships. The enemy had 30 times that number, and their technology was centuries ahead of human science. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," she said. General Morrison appeared on the main screen within seconds. His gray hair was messy, and his uniform looked like he had slept in it. Behind him, Sarah could see people running around in the command center. "Sarah, what's our status?" he asked without greeting. "Not good, General. We're facing an alien invasion force with technology far superior to ours. They've already taken the outer colonies. I estimate they'll reach Earth orbit in 18 hours. Morrison was quiet for a moment. "How many ships?" "Over 2,000, and more arriving all the time." "Jesus Christ." Morrison ran a hand through his hair. "Sarah, you know what you have to do?" Sarah nodded. "We'll make our stand at Earth. Every ship, every weapon, everything we have. I'm evacuating the orbital stations now. Get your people ready for the fight of their lives." The next few hours passed quickly. Ships from all over the solar system rushed back toward Earth. Commercial vessels, research ships, even some private yachts joined the defense fleet. People volunteered to crew any ship that could carry weapons. It was not much, but it was everything humanity had. Sarah stood in the observation deck of her ship, looking out at Earth below. The blue and white planet looked peaceful from space. Cities twinkled like stars on the night side. Clouds swirled over the oceans. It was beautiful and fragile, and soon it would be under attack. Her second-in-command, Commander Taylor, joined her at the window. "The crew is asking what our chances are," he said quietly. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "Tell them we're going to fight with everything we have. Tell them that Earth is worth dying for. Tell them that even if we lose, we're going to make these aliens remember that humans don't surrender." Taylor nodded and left. Sarah stayed at the window, watching her home planet turn slowly in space. In a few hours, the greatest battle in human history would begin. She knew they would probably lose. The aliens had better ships, better weapons, and far more experience in space warfare. But they did not know humans. They did not know that sometimes the smaller dog wins the fight. They did not know that humans had spent thousands of years fighting wars, and they had learned one important lesson: never give up. Sarah touched the window glass with her palm. "We're going to give you everything we've got," she whispered to the alien fleet somewhere out in the darkness. "You want our planet? Come and take it." The waiting was almost over. Soon the battle for Earth would begin. The alien fleet reached Earth's outer orbital zone just as the sun was rising over the Pacific Ocean. Admiral Sarah Chen had positioned her ships in 3 defensive lines around the planet. It was a desperate plan, but it was all they had. "Enemy ships entering weapons range," Lieutenant Park announced, counting 2,400 vessels. Sarah looked at the tactical display. Her fleet of 93 ships looked tiny compared to the enemy force. Some of the human vessels were cargo haulers with missile pods strapped to their hulls. Others were research ships that had never been in a fight, but they were all here ready to defend their home. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," she said into the fleet communication system. "Today we fight for everything we hold dear. We fight for our families, our planet, and our future. Make every shot count." The first alien ship to enter Earth's defensive zone was massive, even by their standards. It was over 2 miles long and covered with what looked like weapons ports. Sarah watched it approach her outermost defensive line. Captain Williams commanded that line in his destroyer, the Valiant. He had been Sarah's friend since their academy days. Now he was about to face an enemy that could destroy his ship with a single shot. "Williams, you are cleared to engage," Sarah transmitted. "Copy that, Admiral. All ships open fire." 28 human ships fired at once. Missiles streaked through space, followed by railgun rounds moving at incredible speeds. The weapons struck the alien ship's hull and simply vanished. Not one shot made it through their shields. The alien response was immediate and devastating. Purple energy beams lanced out from the massive ship. Where they touched human vessels, the metal simply ceased to exist. The Valiant took a direct hit to its bridge. Sarah watched on her screen as her friend's ship broke apart in a silent explosion. "First line is gone," Commander Taylor reported quietly. "All ships lost." Sarah felt sick. 28 ships and over 1,000 people gone in less than 5 minutes. The aliens had not even slowed down. "Second line, prepare to engage," she ordered. The second battle lasted longer but ended the same way. Human weapons could not penetrate alien shields, while alien weapons cut through human ships like they were made of paper. Captain Rodriguez managed to ram his cruiser into an enemy ship, but even that did not seem to damage the alien vessel. By the time the aliens reached Earth's orbital space, Sarah's fleet was down to 31 ships. She had lost over 2,000 people, and the enemy had not lost a single vessel. "Admiral, we're getting a transmission from the lead alien ship," the communications officer reported. "Put it through." The same cold voice filled the bridge. "Human Admiral, your resistance is pointless. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Continue to fight and we will make your species suffer for 1,000 years." Sarah looked around at her remaining crew. They were young, scared, but still at their posts. She thought about her daughter on Earth below, probably watching the battle on the news. She thought about all the people counting on her to protect them. "This is Admiral Chen," she said into the communicator. "My answer is the same as before. If you want our planet, come and take it." The alien voice returned, and this time it sounded amused. "Very well. We will begin bombardment of your planet in 1 hour. Use that time to say goodbye to your world." The transmission ended. Sarah stared at the tactical display, watching the alien ships take positions around Earth. Soon they would begin destroying cities from orbit. Billions of people would die, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park said suddenly, "I'm picking up something strange. There's an energy signature coming from deep space. It's moving very fast." Sarah looked at his screen. A single dot was approaching from outside the solar system. "What is it?" "I don't know. It's big, but the readings don't make sense. The energy output is off the charts." On Earth below, people watched the sky with terror. The alien ships looked like dark stars hanging over their heads. News reports showed crowds gathering in churches, families hugging each other, and world leaders making final speeches. In the International Space Station, Director Kim coordinated with ground forces. "All missile silos are armed and ready," she reported to Admiral Chen. "We have nuclear submarines standing by. If those ships start bombing cities, we'll hit them with everything we have." Sarah knew it would not matter. Nuclear weapons would be just as useless as conventional ones against alien shields, but at least they would go down fighting. "Admiral," Park called out again, "that energy signature is getting stronger. Whatever it is, it's massive, bigger than their largest ship." Sarah felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe it was another alien fleet. Maybe these invaders had enemies who were coming to help. It was a desperate thought, but she held on to it. The alien commander, War Commander Zethkar, stood in the control center of his flagship. He was tall and thin with gray skin and large black eyes. His species, the Kalari, had conquered hundreds of worlds for the Dominion Empire. "Begin bombardment of the human cities," he ordered. "Start with their largest population centers." "Yes, War Commander," his tactical officer replied. "Shall we spare any humans for slavery?" Zethkar considered this. Humans had shown courage in their hopeless fight, which was useful in slaves. But they had also shown defiance, which was dangerous. "Kill them all," he decided. "This species is too dangerous to keep alive." The tactical officer began preparing the bombardment. Energy, weapons designed to crack planets turned toward Earth's surface. In minutes, human civilization would be reduced to ash and radiation. "War Commander," another officer called out, "we are detecting an unknown vessel approaching from deep space. It's very large." Zethkar looked at the tactical display. A single ship was moving toward them at impossible speed. It was bigger than his flagship, but he was not worried. The Dominion had faced many enemies over the centuries. None had survived. "What species?" he asked. "Unknown, War Commander. The ship's design is not in our database." "Weapon status?" "Scanning now." "War Commander, this is strange. The ship appears to be using stealth technology, but it's not trying to hide. It's like it wants us to see it." Zethkar frowned. That made no sense. Why would an enemy reveal itself when it could attack from hiding, unless it was confident it could win an open battle? "Increase scanning intensity," he ordered. "I want to know everything about that ship." On Admiral Chen's flagship, Lieutenant Park was staring at his screen with confusion. "Admiral, I'm getting readings I've never seen before. That ship, it's not just big, it's using technology that doesn't match anything in our computers." "Could it be another Dominion ship?" Sarah asked. "I don't think so. The energy patterns are completely different. And Admiral, I think it's slowing down like it wants to talk." Sarah felt her heart rate increase. "Put all sensors on that ship. I want to know everything about it the moment it arrives." The unknown vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's orbital zone. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the largest alien ship. But unlike the smooth black Dominion vessels, this ship looked ancient. Its hull was covered with strange patterns that seemed to shift and move in the light. "It's decloaking," Park announced. Suddenly, the ship became fully visible. It was beautiful in a way that made Sarah catch her breath. The hull was made of some kind of metal that reflected light like water. Along its sides were symbols that looked almost familiar, like writing she had seen in a half-remembered dream. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "It's on all human frequencies." "Put it through," Sarah ordered. A voice filled the bridge. It was human, definitely human, but speaking with an accent Sarah did not recognize. The words were formal, like something from an old book. "Greetings, defenders of Earth. This is Captain Marcus Webb of the exploration vessel Prometheus's Gift. We have returned home to find our world under attack. We offer our assistance in this dark hour." Sarah stared at the screen. A human ship? But how is that possible? No human vessel could be that large, or use technology like that. "Captain Webb," she said carefully. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. Can you identify yourself? We have no record of any ship called Prometheus's Gift." There was a pause. Then the voice returned, and this time it sounded sad. "Admiral Chen, we launched from Earth 407 years ago. We were the first interstellar colony ship, sent to find humanity a new home among the stars. We have been gone a very long time, and we have learned much, but we have never forgotten our birth world. 400 years ago." Sarah's mind raced. She had studied history at the academy. There were records of early colony attempts, ships that had disappeared into deep space and never returned. "Captain Webb, can you help us?" she asked. "We're facing an enemy with superior technology. We can't penetrate their shields." The voice that came back was full of quiet confidence. "Admiral, we have learned things in our travels that these Dominion forces have never imagined. They think they are the masters of this galaxy. They are wrong." The massive ship began to move toward the alien fleet. As it did, Sarah noticed something impossible. Space around the ship began to shimmer and bend, as if reality itself was being twisted. "All human ships withdraw to defensive positions around Earth," Captain Webb's voice commanded. "What happens next may be difficult to watch, but do not interfere." War Commander Zethkar studied the approaching human ship with growing interest. In his 300 years of conquest, he had never seen technology like this. The ship's hull seemed to bend light around it, and his sensors gave readings that made no sense. "Tactical analysis," he ordered. "War Commander, the vessel appears to be using some form of space-time manipulation," his science officer reported. "Our weapons may have difficulty targeting it." Zethkar was not concerned. The Dominion had faced many advanced species. They always fell in the end. "Open communications with the human ship. Let me speak to their captain." On the bridge of the Prometheus's Gift, Captain Marcus Webb sat in a chair that looked like it was grown rather than built. The control surfaces around him pulsed with soft light, responding to his thoughts as much as his touch. Behind him stood his crew, men and women who had left Earth 4 centuries ago as young explorers. They were still young, kept alive by technology they had found among the ruins of dead civilizations. But their eyes held the weight of centuries and knowledge that no human had ever possessed. Incoming transmission from the Dominion flagship, his communications officer reported. Her name was Elena Vasquez, and she had been 25 when they left Earth. Now she looked the same but spoke with the wisdom of someone who had lived for hundreds of years. "Put it through," Marcus said. The alien voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel, this is War Commander Zethkar of the Dominion Empire. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Your primitive technology cannot stand against our fleet." Marcus smiled sadly. He remembered when humans thought the same way, when they believed that bigger weapons always won battles. The universe had taught him different lessons. "War Commander Zethkar," he replied. "I am Captain Marcus Webb. 4 centuries ago I left Earth to find new worlds for humanity to settle. In my travels I have learned much about your dominion. You are not conquerors, you are parasites, feeding on the life energy of entire species to power your technology." There was silence from the alien ship. Then Zethkar's voice returned, colder than before. "You know nothing, human. We bring order to chaos. We unite the galaxy under one rule." "You bring death," Marcus replied. "But that ends today. Earth is under my protection, and I do not give that protection lightly." On Admiral Chen's flagship, Sarah and her crew watched the exchange with fascination. The mysterious human ship sat motionless in space, facing down an entire alien fleet. It seemed impossible, but something about Captain Webb's voice made Sarah believe he knew what he was doing. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park called out, "I'm detecting energy buildups throughout the solar system. It's like something is waking up." Sarah looked at his display. Energy signatures were appearing on asteroids, on moons, even on planets. Structures that had been dark and dead for millions of years were suddenly coming to life. "What is that?" she asked. Before Park could answer, Captain Webb's voice came over the communication system again. "Admiral Chen, what you are seeing are the defense systems of the architects. They were the first species to achieve true mastery over space and time. They built these weapons long before your species evolved, and they have been waiting." "Waiting for what?" Sarah asked. "For the right catalyst, for a species that could operate their technology. The architects learned that only certain types of minds can interface with their systems. They searched the galaxy for such a species, but they never found one. Then they transcended physical existence, leaving their technology behind as a gift for whoever proved worthy." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying humans can use alien technology?" "Not just any alien technology. The most advanced technology in the galaxy. The architects designed it specifically for minds like ours, minds that refuse to surrender even when faced with impossible odds." War Commander Zethkar had heard enough. "All ships, open fire on the human vessel. Destroy it now." The Dominion fleet opened fire at once. Thousands of purple energy beams lanced through space toward the Prometheus's gift. The human ship should have been vaporized instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The ship simply wasn't there anymore. It had moved between the spaces of reality, existing in dimensions that normal physics couldn't touch. The alien weapons passed harmlessly through empty space. The Prometheus's gift reappeared directly in the center of the Dominion fleet. Before the aliens could react, it opened fire with weapons that made their technology look primitive. Beams of pure silver light touched alien ships, and they simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not damaged. They vanished as if they had never been built. "Impossible," Zethkar shouted. "Our shields should stop anything." "Your shields were designed to stop conventional weapons," Marcus Webb's voice replied calmly. "These weapons exist in 11 dimensions simultaneously. Your 3-dimensional shields cannot touch them." 6 Dominion ships disappeared in the first volley. The alien fleet scattered, trying to bring their weapons to bear on a target that could appear anywhere in space without warning. But every time they fired, the human ship was somewhere else. On Earth, people stared up at the sky in amazement. The dark alien ships that had threatened their world were disappearing one by one, destroyed by weapons that looked like liquid starlight. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park called out excitedly. "The energy signatures are getting stronger. Whatever those things are, they're fully active now." Sarah watched her display as hundreds of new contacts appeared throughout the solar system. Ancient structures on Jupiter's moons revealed themselves as massive weapon platforms. The asteroid belt transformed into a network of automated defense systems. Even Mars showed energy signatures that suggested enormous installations buried beneath its surface. "Captain Webb," she called over the communication system. "What do you need us to do?" "Send boarding parties to the nearest installations," Webb replied. His ship phased through an alien dreadnought, leaving it split in half. "The architect weapons need human operators. Only your species can interface with their control systems." Sarah looked at Commander Taylor. "Prepare boarding shuttles. I want our best people on those installations." "Admiral, we don't know if those things are safe," Taylor protested. "Commander, we're facing annihilation. I'll take any chance we can. Get." The first boarding party reached an installation on Ceres within an hour. Lieutenant Commander Jackson led a team of 12 specialists onto what looked like a simple asteroid, but when they approached the coordinates Webb had provided, hidden doors opened in solid rock. Inside, the installation was vast. Corridors stretched for miles, filled with technology that hummed with quiet power. The walls were covered with symbols that somehow made sense to human eyes, as if the architects had designed their writing specifically for human minds to understand. "Command, we're inside," Jackson reported. "The technology here is incredible. It's like it's been waiting for us." "Can you operate it?" Admiral Chen asked. Jackson approached what looked like a control interface. The moment his hand touched the surface, the entire installation came alive. Information flowed into his mind, not words or images, but pure understanding. He suddenly knew how to operate weapons that could destroy stars, how to bend space and time, how to reach across the galaxy in an instant. "Admiral," he said, his voice filled with wonder, "I can control all of it. It's like the machines are part of me now." Throughout the solar system, other boarding parties were making the same discovery. Humans could operate architect technology as easily as breathing. The ancient alien systems responded to human thoughts and emotions, becoming extensions of their will. War Commander Zethkar watched his fleet being systematically destroyed and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. The Dominion had conquered 1,000 worlds, but they had never faced an enemy like this. "Retreat," he ordered. "All ships, retreat to hyperspace." But as his ships tried to flee, they found their escape routes blocked. The ancient installations had created some kind of space-time barrier around the solar system. Nothing could get in or out without permission. "Attention, Dominion fleet," Captain Webb's voice echoed across all frequencies. "You came here to conquer and enslave. You will leave as prisoners to face justice for your crimes against countless species. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. Continue to fight and you will be destroyed." Zethkar looked around his bridge at his terrified crew. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons he could not understand or fight. The remaining ships were trapped like insects in a web. For the first time in Dominion history, a war commander gave the order to surrender. On Earth, people poured into the streets to celebrate. The alien threat was over, destroyed by humanity's mysterious protectors and ancient technology that recognized humans as its rightful operators. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on her bridge, looking out at the Prometheus's gift. The massive ship hung in space like a silver jewel, beautiful and terrible at the same time. "Captain Webb," she said over the communication system, "we need to talk. There's a lot I don't understand." "Yes, Admiral, we have much to discuss. But first, let me tell you about the architects and about humanity's true destiny." 3 hours after the surrender of the Dominion fleet, Captain Marcus Webb transported to Admiral Chen's flagship. Sarah had expected to meet an old man, someone weathered by 4 centuries of space travel. Instead, Webb appeared to be in his 30s, with kind eyes that held depth she could not fathom. "Admiral Chen," he said, extending his hand. "It's good to meet a fellow protector of Earth." Sarah shook his hand and felt a strange, tingling sensation. For a moment, she could sense the vast knowledge contained in his mind. Glimpses of dead civilizations, impossible technologies, and truths about the universe that humanity was only beginning to understand. "Captain Webb," she said, trying to process what she had just experienced. "We need answers. What happened to your mission? What are these architect weapons? And why can humans operate them when other species apparently cannot?" Webb smiled sadly. "Those are the right questions, Admiral. Let me start with our mission. We left Earth in 2157 aboard the colony ship New Horizon. Our goal was to establish humanity's first interstellar colony. We traveled for 30 years before we found what we thought was a suitable system." He paused, looking out at the stars through the bridge windows. "What we found instead was a graveyard. Planets that had once held billions of lives, reduced to empty shells. Space stations the size of moons, dark and lifeless, and ships, Admiral. Thousands of ships from dozens of different species, all destroyed by the same enemy." "The Dominion?" Sarah asked. "Yes. We learned that the Dominion has been consuming the galaxy for over 50,000 years. They move from system to system, conquering and enslaving, feeding on the life energy of entire civilizations to power their technology. Every species we encountered told the same story. Resistance was impossible, surrender was the only option." Commander Taylor, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "But you found a way to fight them." Webb nodded. "We spent decades searching through the ruins of dead civilizations, looking for some weapon or technology that could stop the Dominion. Most species had tried to fight them with conventional weapons, bigger guns, stronger shields, faster ships. They all failed. Then, we found the architect sites, ancient installations scattered throughout the galaxy, built by a species that had transcended physical existence millions of years ago. The architects had left behind technology that operated on principles we barely understood, weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself." Sarah leaned forward. "But why can humans use them when other species couldn't?" "The architects were searching for a specific type of consciousness," Webb explained. "They built their technology to respond to minds that shared certain characteristics: creativity, adaptability, and most importantly, the refusal to surrender in the face of impossible odds. Most species, when faced with overwhelming force, choose submission. Humans choose defiance." Lieutenant Park looked up from his sensor station. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from all the installations throughout the solar system. They're all coming online simultaneously." Webb smiled. "The network is awakening. The architects designed their weapons to work together, creating a defensive grid that can protect entire star systems. Earth is now the most heavily defended world in the galaxy." On the surface of Europa, Lieutenant Commander Jackson stood in what could only be described as a cathedral of technology. The architect installation stretched for miles beneath the ice, filled with machines that sang with harmonious energy. Around him, his team worked at control interfaces that responded to their thoughts. "Admiral," Jackson reported over the communication system, "we've gained full control of the installation. The weapons here can target anything within 100 light years. But it's more than just weapons. There are manufacturing systems, faster than light communication arrays, even what looks like terraforming equipment. Similar reports came in from installations throughout the solar system. On Ceres, Lieutenant Rodriguez discovered factories that could build ships using designs stored in architect databases. On Ganymede, Commander Park found educational systems that could teach human minds to understand technologies beyond their current comprehension. The architects left us everything we need to become a spacefaring civilization," Webb explained to Admiral Chen. "But they also left us with a responsibility. The Dominion must be stopped, and we're the only species that can do it." Sarah looked at the tactical display, where the captured Dominion ship sat under guard. "What about the prisoners? What do we do with them?" "We learn from them," Webb replied. The Dominion has detailed maps of the galaxy, records of every species they've encountered, intelligence about their military capabilities. But more importantly, we can use their communication systems to contact other species that have been waiting for someone to lead a rebellion against their oppressors. The first such contact came within days. Deep space monitoring. Stations detected an incoming message on Dominion frequencies. The transmission was weak and heavily encrypted, but human computers enhanced by architect technology were able to decode it. Admiral Chen listened to the message in her ready room, with Captain Webb and her senior staff present. The voice that came through the speakers was clearly alien, but spoke in halting English that the translation systems had learned from captured Dominion databases. Human defenders, this is Commander Thelwar of the Kandari Resistance. We have monitored your victory over the Dominion fleet. Is it true that you possess weapons that can defeat their ships? Sarah looked at Webb, who nodded. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. Yes, we have successfully defeated a Dominion invasion force. Who are the Kandari? We are survivors, Admiral Chen. The Dominion conquered our homeworld 60 years ago. We have been fighting them ever since, but we lack the weapons to win. Can you help us? Webb leaned forward. Commander Thelwar, we can do more than help. We can free your people, but we need information about Dominion forces in your sector. We have complete intelligence on their operations in this region of the galaxy. 300 systems under their control, over 50 billion enslaved beings. Admiral, if you truly have the power to fight them, we offer our ships and our lives to your cause. Over the following weeks, similar messages arrived from across the galaxy. Species that had fought hopeless resistance campaigns for decades suddenly had reason to hope. The news spread through secret communication networks. Earth had weapons that could destroy Dominion fleets, and humans were willing to share that technology with their allies. But the Dominion was not idle. War Commander Zethkar, now a prisoner aboard Admiral Chen's flagship, warned them during an interrogation session. You think you have won a great victory, he said, his gray skin pale with defeat. But you have only faced a minor patrol fleet. The Dominion core worlds possess thousands of fleets, each larger than the one you destroyed. They will come for you with forces that will darken your sun. Sarah studied the alien commander. Despite his arrogance, she could see fear in his large, black eyes. How long before they arrive? The Dominion Council will not tolerate this defiance. 6 months, perhaps less. They will bring enough ships to reduce your planet to ash and technology you have not yet encountered. Webb, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. Let them come. 6 months will be enough time to prepare. Prepare for what? Zethkar asked. To take the war to them, Webb replied calmly. The age of Dominion expansion is over. It's time for the galaxy to be free. In the weeks that followed, Earth underwent the most rapid transformation in human history. Architect manufacturing systems worked around the clock, building ships that combined human engineering with ancient alien technology. The Prometheus's gift served as a template, but human designers added their own improvements. The new ships were smaller than the ancient vessel, but faster and more maneuverable. They could phase through normal space, strike from multiple dimensions, and their weapons could penetrate any known shield system. More importantly, they were built specifically for human crews, with interfaces that felt natural to human minds. Admiral Chen found herself commanding not just Earth's defense fleet, but the nucleus of a galactic rebellion. Ships arrived from dozens of species, their crews eager to learn from human tacticians and fight alongside the weapons that had defeated the invincible Dominion. The Kandari arrived first, tall, graceful beings with skin that changed color based on their emotions. Their ships were sleek and fast, perfect for hit-and-run attacks. Next came the Torelli, massive creatures that looked like living rocks but possessed intelligence that rivaled human scientists. Their vessels were slow but incredibly durable, ideal for carrying the heavy architect weapons that smaller ships could not handle. Captain Webb spent his time training human crews to use the more advanced architect technologies. The learning process was unlike anything in human experience. The ancient machines literally rewrote parts of the human brain to accommodate new knowledge and capabilities. It's not painful, he explained to Sarah during one of their planning sessions. But it is transformative. The person who emerges from advanced architect training is still human, but they're human plus something more. They can think in dimensions that don't exist for baseline humans, understand mathematics that describe the fundamental structure of reality. Sarah watched her officers undergo the liberation of the Kandari homeworld was humanity's first test as leaders of a galactic rebellion. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the Defiant Dawn, watching the Dominion fleet that had enslaved billions of people for 60 years. The enemy had learned from their defeat at Earth. Their ships now traveled in tight formations, with overlapping shield grids that they believed could stop architect weapons. War Commander Kreshtal commanded from a massive fortress ship, confident that his 200 vessels could destroy any force the humans might send. He was wrong. All ships, phase to attack position, Admiral Chen ordered. 50 human ships, supported by allied vessels from a dozen liberated species, simply vanished from normal space. The architect phase drive technology allowed them to travel through dimensions that conventional sensors could not detect. They reappeared inside the Dominion formation, already firing. The battle was over in minutes. Architect weapons reached through shield barriers as if they were made of air. Dominion ships designed to withstand nuclear bombardment were destroyed by beams of pure energy that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. War Commander Kreshtal's fortress ship, a mile-long monster that had terrorized star systems for decades, was cut in half by a single shot from Captain Webb's Prometheus's gift. On the planet below, 60 years of Dominion occupation ended in a matter of hours. Kandari rebels, coordinating with human ground forces, seized control of major cities. The enslaved population, seeing their oppressors' ships burning in the sky, rose up in celebration. Commander Thelwar, the Kandari resistance leader who had first contacted Earth, met Admiral Chen at the planetary capital. His skin glowed with colors that Sarah's translator indicated meant joy and gratitude. Admiral Chen, my people owe you a debt that can never be repaid, he said. For 60 years, we believed freedom was impossible. You have given us back our world. Sarah smiled, though she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Commander, freedom isn't something we can give you. It's something you already had. We just helped you take it back. Now comes the harder part, keeping it. With a sigh, liberation of Kandari Prime sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. For the first time in 50,000 years, a major Dominion stronghold had fallen to rebel forces. The news spread through secret communication networks, inspiring resistance movements on hundreds of worlds. But the Dominion's response was swift and brutal. Emperor Vashitok, ruler of the Empire for over 1,000 years, declared a state of total war. Fleets that had been conquering distant galaxies were recalled to crush the human rebellion. War Commander Zethkar, still a prisoner aboard Admiral Chen's flagship, served as an unwilling advisor. Despite his hatred for humans, he respected their military effectiveness and knew his survival depended on their victory. The Emperor will send the Death Fleet, he warned Sarah during one of their strategic sessions. 5,000 ships commanded by War Admiral Kethmorn, the Emperor's most trusted general. They have weapons you have not yet encountered. Reality bombs that can destroy entire solar systems. Time distortion fields that age enemy ships to dust in seconds. Sarah studied the intelligence reports spread across the table. The Dominion was mobilizing forces larger than anything in recorded galactic history. But humanity was no longer fighting alone. 23 species had joined their rebellion, contributing ships, intelligence, and most importantly, hope. Captain Webb, she said to her mysterious ally, can the architect weapons handle this kind of force? Webb, who had been studying captured Dominion technology, looked up from his work. The individual weapons, yes, but 5,000 ships is a massive force. We'll need to be strategic about how we fight them. What do you suggest? We don't fight them head on. We force them to spread out, respond to multiple threats. The architect network extends throughout this entire region of the galaxy. If we can activate installations in different systems simultaneously, we can create a defensive grid that even the Death Fleet cannot break. The next 6 months were the most intense in human history. Earth became the command center for a galactic war, with Admiral Chen coordinating liberation campaigns across dozens of star systems. Each victory brought new allies, new resources, and new intelligence about Dominion capabilities. The Battle of Vega was humanity's greatest test before the final confrontation. 3 Dominion fleets converged on the system, determined to stop human expansion into the galactic core. Admiral Chen deployed her forces carefully, using the ancient architect installations on Vega's moons to create overlapping fields of fire. The battle raged for 3 days. Dominion ships equipped with new shielding technology proved more difficult to destroy than previous enemies. But human tactics had evolved as well. Captain Webb led a strike force that targeted the enemy command ships, while Admiral Chen's main fleet used hit-and-run tactics to wear down the larger Dominion formations. When the smoke cleared, the Dominion had lost all 3 fleets, but the cost was high. Humanity lost 12 ships and over 3,000 people. For the first time since the war began, Sarah felt the true weight of command. "They're not just numbers on a tactical display," she confided to Captain Webb after the battle. "Every ship we lose represents families destroyed, dreams ended. Sometimes I wonder if we have the right to ask people to make such sacrifices." Webb, who had commanded forces for over 4 centuries, understood her burden. "Admiral, the alternative is eternal slavery for every free species in the galaxy. The Dominion doesn't just conquer worlds, they consume souls. Every person who dies fighting them saves thousands who might never have the chance to live free." As the Death Fleet approached Earth, humanity made its final preparations. The solar system had been transformed into the most heavily fortified location in galactic history. Ancient architect installations covered every planet, moon, and asteroid. New weapons platforms built with human architect hybrid technology created overlapping fields of destruction that could eliminate entire fleets. But the true strength of humanity's defense lay not in weapons, but in unity. Over 200 species had joined their cause, contributing ships and crews to the defense of Earth. The home system of humanity had become a symbol of freedom for the entire galaxy. Emperor Vashitok himself commanded the Death Fleet, determined to crush the rebellion personally. His flagship, the Eternity's End, was a mobile fortress larger than Earth's moon, armed with weapons that could crack planets. Around it traveled 5,000 of the Dominion's most advanced warships, crewed by their most experienced warriors. "Humans of Earth," the Emperor's message echoed across all frequencies. "You have defied the natural order of the galaxy. You have inspired chaos where there was once peace. For this crime against civilization, your species will be erased from existence. No mercy will be shown. No survivors will remain." Admiral Chen's response was broadcast on every human and allied frequency. "Emperor Vashtok, humanity rejects your authority and your twisted vision of peace through slavery. We fight not just for our own survival, but for the freedom of every thinking being in the galaxy. Today, the age of the Dominion ends." The final battle began at the edge of the solar system, as the Death Fleet encountered the outer defensive installations. Ancient architect weapons, guided by human operators, struck with impossible precision. Dominion ships that had never been damaged by conventional weapons found their hulls pierced by beams of pure energy. But the Death Fleet had come prepared. Reality bombs detonated throughout space, creating tears in the fabric of existence itself. Time distortion fields aged entire asteroids to dust, eliminating the installations built upon them. For the first time, architect technology met weapons designed specifically to counter it. The battle moved inward, through the outer planets toward Earth itself. Jupiter's moons became the site of the largest space battle in galactic history, as hundreds of thousands of ships clashed in a conflict that lit up the solar system with weapon fire. Captain Webb's Prometheus's gift led the crucial breakthrough. Using knowledge gained from 4 centuries of studying architect technology, he phased his ship not just through normal space, but through time itself. Appearing in the Death Fleet's formation before they had begun their attack, he struck at the Emperor's flagship with weapons that existed in the past, present, and future simultaneously. The Eternity's End, despite its massive shields and reality-warping defenses, could not defend against an attack that had already succeeded before. It began. The ship that had conquered 1,000 worlds died in a burst of light visible throughout the solar system. With their Emperor dead and their flagship destroyed, the Death Fleet's discipline collapsed. Some ships fled. Others surrendered. Many continued fighting to the death, but without coordination, they were eliminated by the combined human-allied forces. When the battle ended, the Dominion Empire was broken. News of the Emperor's death spread throughout the galaxy, triggering rebellions on every occupied world. Species that had lived as slaves for thousands of years rose up against their oppressors, inspired by humanity's example and supported by Architect Weapons. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation,